and welcome to Kate's Holistic Healing. I am your host, Kate Fletcher, and we have a very interesting show today. We're talking about lymphedema. I'm very glad today to have with me Kelly Thomson. Kelly is the head of marketing and sales at Lymphedema Products and at the Norton School of Lymphatic Therapy. And so she is the lady who helps me deal with my lymphedema. But Kelly, let me ask you, first of all, what is lymphedema?
I think lymphedema can be best described as a chronic swelling. And we see this type of swelling in this country most commonly after a cancer of some sort. And what will happen is the physicians will go in, the surgeons, once let's say you have breast cancer, they'll go in to your lymphatic system, which is also your carrier system, and they'll remove some of these lymph nodes, which leaves the patient at a reduced lymphatic capacity. And so the lymphatic system is responsible for removing all of your cellular waste and other types of waste that build up in the body. And when that system is disrupted, that's when we'll see lymphedema, essentially.
Okay, so then people, when they have cancer, the doctors just find it practical to remove the lymph nodes so the cancer doesn't spread?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. That's something they're always going to be looking at.
Okay. So when you remove the lymphatic system, then what happens to the limb?
Okay, so once the lymph nodes, and so we have hundreds and hundreds of lymph nodes throughout our body, and they're going to be especially found in the groin region, in the armpit region, head and neck especially. And so once they've been disrupted, and by that I mean the surgeon has removed several to study, in the case of a cancer patient, what happens is the limb will slowly begin to swell, and it's not necessarily slowly all the time. Some people begin to swell right after their radiation or during their radiation. Other people can have this trauma, right, which is the removal of the lymph nodes. Any surgery is trauma that can affect the lymphatic system, actually. So we may see 10 years down the line, after, successfully conquering breast cancer, we may see that limb begin to swell as well.
Oh, really? So it doesn't always, because when I first had cancer, I got lymphedema right away.
Absolutely. And so you're part of the population that does that, and then we may have, again, someone who's had, let's say, breast cancer again, right? And nothing's happened in the 10 years post-surgery, and they accidentally slam their hand in a door or their arm in a car door. That trauma, that second trauma, can cause that limb to swell because it's been predisposed. It's ready to swell on you. It just hasn't, nothing's triggered it quite yet.
Right. So what do people do when they get this?
Well,
I mean, how can you, is it something that can be managed?
Lymphedema is a chronic condition, and so by and large, that means the patient is going to live with this condition for the rest of their lives. But, not everyone who gets lymphedema is a cancer survivor.
Really? How else can you get lymphedema?
Well, lymphedema can come on in various forms, but we see it in the U.S. probably second to obesity. Obesity definitely taxes the lymphatic system, and it can crowd the lymphatic pathways that are needed to remove that cellular waste. And so, in fact, that's where we'll see some of the worst lymphedema, called elephantiasis generally, and that is just a huge swelling. So perhaps a calf that is maybe 90 plus centimeters, an ankle that's, 60. So we're talking about a very large limb.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of people with limbs in the summertime, and their legs look like kind of tree trunks. They just go straight down.
Yeah, they can.
Don't have much in the way of ankles.
Nope. It is, and the foot is generally involved when we're talking about lymphedema as well. So It is a chronic issue, and I think that we don't know enough about the people that we don't see, the lymphedema patients that don't go out because of the way their legs look. I think there is truly a hidden population of people who have this and are too embarrassed or ashamed or can't find transportation or money to treat it.
Oh, that's so sad. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That it really is. But this is what your whole company does. You help people treat their lymphedema.
So I work for a company, and it's really two companies, but they're sister companies. One is the Norton School of Lymphatic Therapy, and that is a school that trains PTs, OTs, PTAs,
These
CODAs.
are physical therapists.
Absolutely. Sometimes we have doctors and nurses in our courses. Some massage therapists can take our courses as well. And that's a 9-day course, and these people are trained and certified to become certified lymphedema therapists. And they are taught how to manage this disease process from the beginning intensive phase until the maintenance phase. And so it's critical that you have a good relationship with a lymphedema therapist.
That is true. If you do have lymphedema and you're looking for a qualified therapist, I have a couple of recommendations. You could go on to Kate's Holistic Healing, and we have lymphatic wrappers. And you can also contact Kelly Thomson, phone number's on the screen, and she can help you as well because she's taught so many and they have a large list of
We have a
people.
huge referral database full of wonderfully trained lymphedema therapists. So I go out to those courses and I talk to these new students about products. And I am the director of Lymphedema Products, and I am in particular a product placement specialist, probably one of the few in the country. Lymphedema Products sells things from the very beginning of the intensive phase all the way to the maintenance phase, which is typically a garment or a compression alternative, something with Velcro. Lymphedema is a condition that we need to manage as close to 24 hours a day as possible. And so what that means typically is after the intensive phase, which involves bandaging, you remember this.
Right, yeah, you'll have to walk through all the
Absolutely.
phases.
So Lymphedema Products sells everything that one could need for lymphedema management. And again, that's what I do all day.
So how does somebody manage their lymphedema? I mean...
So treatment of lymphedema initially begins in something that I would call the intensive phase. What we treat, or what we train our clinicians to do, is something called the Foldy technique of CDT, complete decongestive therapy, and it all begins with the bandaging process. So you come to me with a swollen leg, and I'm not a clinician, for the record. I sat through this course many, many times, but I don't have the credentials to be a therapist. That said, I am very familiar with what we do, clearly. And so it does begin in the bandaging phase. So you would come to a clinician like you did, right? Yeah. And they would do different tests and try to find out exactly what type of swelling issue you're dealing with. Of course, post-cancer, it becomes pretty obvious, but let's say cancer is not in your background. You'd need a lymphedema therapist to be able to diagnose you and to treat you, all right? And so the bandaging phase often starts off with something like this. And this is a liner. This is the first layer of the bandaging, which is the initial phase of CDT, all right? And then we're going to take bandages like these. There are a couple of competitors to this, but they are all great products. And these are not ACE bandages, by the way.
What are they? What's the difference?
This is called a short stretch bandage, which you know how an ACE bandage, you can pretty much stretch it out for as long as you want to, and it just grows and grows. This bandage does not. And so we are able to control how much pressure we're putting on a limb. So this product has limited stretch, and that's really what we want. So the liner goes on first. we will then bandage the fingers or the toes using a small type of gauze like this, folded in half. And then we start a little bit of this padding bandages around, let's say if we're talking about a lower leg, we're going to apply this close to the top, around the foot, around the ankle. We just want to pad this in so that the patient is as comfortable as possible while sort of looking like a mummy. Okay, but this phase typically does end for most patients. And before we apply these short stretch bandages, we usually use different foams that really, again, help us to control how much pressure we're putting on the limb. And this is like creating a soft cast almost.
Okay, so these don't have a pressure in and of themselves. You apply the pressure by bandaging.
Absolutely,
Okay.
and you're taught how to do that in our course.
Right.
Okay. Before the bandaging even begins, though, what most clinicians will start with is a massage. Do you remember that, right? It's the lymphatic drainage massage, and shorthand for MLD. And so what we do with that first is essentially a massage is performed. It's very comfortable. It's actually a very light massage. And what we want to do is go up the limb and open up pathways for the lymphatics to move up and through. And so
because you're trying to make the fluid that's pooled in the limb
go up.
Okay.
And so this lymphatic area is not working the way it should be, right? So what we need to do is we need to prime areas on your sides, across your chest. We're trying to find different pathways for this fluid, this swollen limb, for this fluid to come up and out. And so that's why this massage is so essential. And then comes the bandaging. We also need to be really teaching patients about skin care and nail care, because so many people suffer from things like cellulitis, which are infections. In fact, there are products that are specifically made with silver for this patient population to keep the bacteria away from the limb as much as possible.
Yes, I've had cellulitis. Cellulitis is not a nice condition. It's why you don't want to get MRSA staph and surgeries, because you can get cellulitis, which is considered the flesh-eating disease, and it hurts.
Absolutely, it's not fun at all. So there are a lot of things that we do. And so after this phase of treatment, right, and once we've achieved as much reduction in the limb as possible, and I want to state that this initial phase does involve the patient going and seeing the therapist, ideally 4 to 5 times a week.
But sometimes a therapist comes to your house.
There are some folks that are definitely great lymphedema therapists that do home visits, absolutely. So once the reduction, let's say we can watch your limb go down, right? And we see it, and we see it, and we see it, and we keep bandaging, keep massaging, and after about 3 visits, your numbers are looking the same, right? We're no longer able to reduce you any further at this time.
Okay.
That's when you would go ahead and be measured for a compression garment.
And does a compression garment make you smaller?
The compression garment is not a reduction device in and of itself, okay? So you need all of these tools and bandages and foams to reduce the limb.
Okay.
And then what you'll need to do is go into what we would call a maintenance product. And that's a compression arm sleeve or thigh high. It's a compression garment that you would wear as close to all of your waking hours as possible. And after that, some patients will continue to bandage at night. They'll need to do that to manage their condition. Other people can go into different types of compression alternatives, essentially, which are nighttime products that don't involve bandaging. Bandaging can become very time consuming. I think you remember. Are we done yet? Are we done yet?
It's been 6 months, it's been 12 months, right? But it does make a difference. I know about lymphedema because I have had cancer and I had over 20 lymph nodes removed. And as a result, I have a knowledge of these products, and I would, I'll show you that I had it in my pelvis, and as a result, I am I wear these compression garments all the time. So I just like to show you that I don't have lymphedema that's very noticeable on my legs. I mean, you can go down even further because, I mean, most people, as Kelly had mentioned, you can get this elephantiasis disease, but I don't because I do all these different products. So.
Absolutely. And we've had definitely a roll in the hay with products, haven't we, Kate?
We certainly have, but I am living such a wonderful life because I should have very bad lymphedema, and I don't mind walking around in skirts or shorts.
No, she doesn't, and it's amazing. When Kate phoned me up one day about 10 years ago, you know, she had different needs. She had different needs, and we put her in different products. What she's wearing now is a wonderful product by Mediven, and it's a mid-weight stocking, so it's opaque. It looks like a tight, and it comes in a variety of sizes. And a lot of compression stockings come in a variety of colors as well.
Really?
Yeah, they do. In fact,
because I always thought they were just beige or black.
Oh my gosh, Kate. So for the first 5 years of my career,
yeah.
I swear, someone would call in and we would find the right product, the one that would fit them the best.
Yeah.
And then they would ask me, what color is it? Oh gosh, it was always, what color does this product come in?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, it comes in beige. and 10, 15 years ago, that's all there was. It was beige. And so they'd say to me, you know, is it beige? And if you listen, there's a question mark at the end of that. And I pretty much almost needed a color wheel to describe, well, no, it's on the sandier side. No, this is definitely more tan. How tan, I don't know.
Oh my God.
Anyway, now a company like Juzo, which I love also, and I put a lot of people in Juzo products. I mean, they're making things that come in colors now, and it's not your boring everyday sleeve. They actually even have a print series now, which is so fun, and this is a really good product that helps control both upper and lower extremity lymphedema.
Now who would wear a product like that?
You know, I sell these to a lot of women, essentially. I mean, you see the butterfly. To a lot of women who are tired of beige, right? They've been doing beige for 20 years, and they see something like this. A lot of the younger population will also pick something like this, and they might even order it for the other side in a lower compression, a looser tight fit. Just so it can look symmetrical, and they'll put a t-shirt on top of it, and it looks great.
That's really cute.
You know what, it's just not boring beige anymore, which is great,
Right.
and I love black.
Yes, black is also a great color, and it does make heavy legs look thinner.
Absolutely, and
Which
it's
is-
pretty much a East Coast thing. We wear black.
So then these come in different compressions as well, right?
Absolutely. So there's a range of compression that is available, and every manufacturer has different offerings, but we can go really low, so non-medical grade compressions, and then a medical grade product begins at 20 to 30 millimeters of mercury.
Okay.
And that is what is the compression. That's how you value the compression. When you go into other types of products, so we love to put patients in off-the-shelf products, first of all, if they work. We have a great return policy, which allows people to try different things and return them if they don't like the way it works, which is great because there's not a store on every corner that sells lymphedema products. And it also, we are one central location right there with the Norton School in New Jersey. And so everything we ship out. We're not a drop-by business.
Right.
But our return policy allows people to really try things and say no thank you.
Right. And they're not just a firm that sells something, they're experts in it. So you really can talk to them, explain your situation, and they will put you in the right products. They'll measure you, have you get measured, get you in the right size. And because I can tell you, it took me a while to find out what worked best.
Absolutely. And for a while, you were in a different type of product. And I have a version of something that you were actually in for your truncal or torso lymphedema. And this is a garment by Jobst. And this is a product known as the Elverex type of flat knit material. And this has a very limited stretch. These you can stretch much more, okay? You can get a lot more stretch out of something like this, which is a circular knit garment, versus something like this. This is a superior garment for containment. It's long been considered the gold standard, okay? And this is simply a bike short, which is to be worn over thigh highs. You would never leave the bottom of your legs out. We really need to create a gradient of compression, which is more compression further away from your body and less as you approach the body, right? We want to not tourniquet your leg. We want to coax the fluid up.
And I did wear these for about a year, and they were not the most comfortable things, but after a year I didn't have to wear them anymore because they got me down into a much smaller size. I had a lot of lymphedema in my abdomen and buttocks and stuff, and now it's all gone.
So when it comes to nighttime products, which are also needed, well, this is a very new product to come to market. This is the Jobst Relax, and this is a different type of product. You can see that it's a light pink. It comes in beige or buff, I think. But this is a different, more close-fitting type of nighttime product.
Right. This is very,
and you can feel
nice
just
and very gentle.
Yeah, it is a nice, gentle thing, and it works well for some people, and it doesn't work great for others. So it's definitely, we definitely are trial and erroring it with the patient, right?
Okay. Now, do most people, are they compliant?
Compliance is a real issue with what we're asking patients to do. We ask a lot of patients, and that's actually something that I talk to our students about. You know, we're pretty much asking you to walk around. Let's say you had bilateral lymphedema, so it was both legs. We're asking you to maybe walk around like a mummy for 4 to 6 weeks, and then perhaps to continue bandaging after you've been placed in your daytime garment. Daytime garments need to be replaced, something like what you're wearing, or one of these sleeves, or, you know, I've got a variety of products down here, one of these type of bike shorts. They need to be replaced every 6 months. And so I think the biggest issue around lymphedema is the cost of maintenance. And I find that that is primarily why people aren't able to stay compliant. Lymphedema Products recently put together a payment plan for patients.
Oh, that's excellent, because it is something that I know people
struggle.
It's an expensive disease to have.
It is expensive to have, expensive to manage. And so what'll happen is somebody may stay in something like this, a bike short, for over a year, the same one. The compression is only guaranteed for 6 months. And so they say, oh, it still fits. Well, that's because the compression is lessening, right? And it's growing with the patient. So, but this type of product, not for nothing, is easily $500. This product right here. Whereas
but it's all custom measured. And
it's custom made. This is still made in Germany. We can get it to the patient in less than 2 weeks. And we're committed to remaking it until it fits the patient. The same way we accept returns. We're really after patient compliance.
Right.
And that's why the payment plan really came in. Like, let's just slowly pay it off, and we'll keep you in good shape.
When somebody has had lymphedema for a while, can you help them still?
Absolutely.
So it doesn't have to be right after the surgery?
No, because again, I mean, I think in the surgical process,
Right.
things like lymphedema definitely need to be mentioned. And I do think that is the responsibility of the surgeon, right? Just be aware that, yes, we're going to save your life. We're going to eradicate this cancer one way or another. And the word lymphedema so often is not talked about right then. And so we're going to eradicate your cancer, but we're going to leave you with this other condition. You're going to be alive. You're going to be able to live a full life, right? But it's a chronic condition. And so, yes, people come into therapy at very different times. Some people come in with elephantiasis, absolutely, and darkened skin and folded ankles, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I know my surgeon said to me I would have it, and there was no way to avoid it. And the only thing I should do is elevate my leg. And I found that when I would do that, my leg would look thinner, but then I'd stand up and it would just slide back down.
So the issue here, right, and this happens to a lot of people, it's that there's a lot of things in your leg flowing around, right? You've got this lymphatic tissue we know about, you've got blood, and you've got water. And when you're dealing with just blood and water issues, elevation does bring about a reduction, but then you stand up. I mean, you've got to stand up at some point. And the fluid returns rather quickly because all you've actually moved is the blood and water. Lymphatic tissue is very thick, it's very viscous. We have to, prepare the body to receive this type of fluid, ultimately to urinate it out. So it's a process.
Yeah, well, it is. Well, it certainly sounds like it, and I have to say that living with a chronic condition and having found Lymphedema Products in Kelly, it's just been a life send for me. And I really would recommend that if you have issues, you can contact Kelly. Her number's on the screen.
Absolutely.
And she'd also answer any questions.
Always feel free to ask for me if you have questions that are just going unanswered. I am so proud of our staff at Lymphedema Products. I am so happy and to say that we have absolutely the most informed people on the phone who are able to guide you through the products that are offered and talk to you about them.
Right. And I'm a great case study of that if you listen to what the people at Lymphedema Products tell you to do, that it doesn't have to be a big issue in your life.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Kelly, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and educating everybody about lymphedema.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate. It's always a pleasure.
Again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.